My name is Eurhi Jones, and I've got a cool job, and I can't wait to tell you why. I'm an artist who makes a lot of different kinds of work. I do paintings and sculpture, and I do giant murals. When I was a kid, I was always the smallest. I was one of the only Asian kids in my school. I was the only Korean kid in my school, except for my brother and sister. I was pretty quiet and pretty shy. I really like making art because it was something I could do all the time in my room or by myself or with other people. My mother came from Korea and her whole family is plant obsessed, and they also lived in a rural area, so they really were very connected to growing things and the land. And so she was always an obsessive gardener, always growing flowers and vegetables, and that was just a big part of growing up. I think about climate, the environment, and nature and biology all the time. And I think about human beings and our place in all that and how we can help rescue the earth and each other. So I've done quite a few murals for the water department that try to show all the different things that the water department does to keep our environment clean and safe, and also think ahead to some of the problems that we might have because of climate change. The reason we can have life on this planet is water. Anything I can do to help raise people's consciousness about how important it is and how much we should protect it, that's the kind of art I want to make. One of the things I love most about my job of mural making is that I get to work outdoors a lot. I get to work with other people a lot because there's no way you can make these huge things without lots of other people involved. Murals can take several months, so I spent time in lots of different neighborhoods all over Philadelphia and outside of Philadelphia. And you get to know the routine of that neighborhood, when people walk their dogs, or when the postman comes by, or get to know different characters in the neighborhoods and make friends in the neighborhoods. And that's really, really fun because a lot of jobs don't take you around to all these different kind of new places all the time.
This mural here is called The Past Supporting the Future, and it's in Chinatown in Philadelphia. It is a celebration of the history of Chinatown. It's also a celebration of all the different Asian cultures that are in Philadelphia. It's up 20 stories, but if you're able to fly real close to it, you would see that there are textile patterns from all different Asian cultures that are in Philadelphia. It's marking Chinatown and saying, this is an important neighborhood of Philadelphia, and it's also celebrating all of Asian Philly.
I grew up in the suburb of Philadelphia, a town called Swarthmore. In high school, I really liked some of my classes that talked about history and classes where we talked and learned about literature. Also in high school, I loved doing all different art classes and art clubs, photography, and applying art to things like yearbook. I went to 2 different colleges after high school. The first one was a general college, a liberal arts college. It's called Wesleyan University, and it's in Connecticut. And I studied art, but also literature and history. And then I thought after that, I need a little more art training because it was not an art school. But I was really glad I went there because I got to dig into knowledge, like general knowledge, and get a bigger picture of the world to then think about the art I want to make. Then I came back to Philadelphia and I went to the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, where I really focused on painting and sculpture. I really got to study color and color theory and drawing more intensely, and that has helped me hugely to be a muralist. The colors that I like to use are generally pretty bright, especially with mural making. That's very helpful, I think, to bring the natural world into the city. When I make murals, I design it on the computer, where you can pick any color you want, really. Then I have to go and mix those colors with paint, so I have to be able to really understand what color works with what other color to get the mix that I want to match what I've done on the computer. I feel sometimes like a mad scientist putting colors together and trying to get just what I want, and it's a lot of fun, actually. I work in a studio that's in a big church, and the church has too much space, so that they shared the space with artists. So I get to work in this cool room, and I get to put stuff up on the walls and also work at my computer here and carve things and paint things. It's enough room for me to do all the different things I like to do. I use a lot of paint brushes, I use a lot of paint. Sometimes when I do a big mural, I have to get on big machinery and get lifted up 30 feet into the air to work on things. So sometimes it's big machinery, sometimes it's little carving tools, sometimes it's just needle and thread. I like to use a lot of trash making sculpture. So some of the materials I use is just trash that is picked up off the street. If you're interested in the arts, a lot of times adults get a little scared for you or nervous or don't know how you're gonna make a living that way, but there are so many jobs for creative people out there. You have to be entrepreneurial. You have to be willing to hustle and to find opportunities for yourself, and that's not always easy. It's been a great learning process for me to figure out how to do that over the years. One of the hardest parts of a project is you get a great idea and then you start working on it, and then it starts to seem like, you go down into this valley a little bit, like, I can't figure out how to make this work. And then you kind of go down and down, and then sometimes you feel like, I'm never gonna figure this out. And then you start to feel like maybe a little bit bad about yourself and your idea. But then if you just keep working on it, that's what I've found over time. If you don't give up and you keep working on it, you kind of come up out of this valley and you start to think, that was kind of a good idea. Oh, look, I solved that part of it. I solved that problem. And then you kind of come to the top again and you say, hey, it was a good idea. And look, I worked it out. But it's because you kept working on it and you didn't give up and you kept trying another thing. Take a break from it for a little while, come back to it. Oh, you see it with fresh eyes. The creative process is not a straight line. It can have some real dips. Knowing that it has those dips and pushing through them is one of the best things I've learned. To trust myself, trust my idea. Thanks for watching this. I hope it was interesting to you, and I hope that it inspires you a little bit to go out and find a cool job that you can love for the rest of your life.